Tim, thank you. I wanted to ask about your process on Life of Pi, but since you were brought in so early before the film started.
Yeah, I kind of started working on Life of Pi about a year before we started shooting. I was doing something else too. It wasn't my full-time job. That film, I mean, it was shot in 3D, which is hard, on a wave tank, which is hard, involving animals and kids and new actors and all the things you're not supposed to do in a movie, and we did them all in the same movie, and on what was a pretty tight schedule. And so, sometimes directors go and just shoot a bunch of stuff. You get coverage and you'll figure it out later. But we knew we couldn't do that. We knew we were not going to be able to go in and get a bunch of coverage. And so the previs, it started as a necessity, but then as Ang started working in it, and we had a previs expert, and then I was consulting on it, and we figured out all these things we could do. And partly it was a matter of what to do to make it more visually interesting. How to tell the story visually. And as we figured things out in previs, we went back and wrote them into the script. And then as we changed the script, we went back and wrote them, worked them into the previs. And the two fed off of each other. And the whole previs process, I did a full sound edit to it. We had over an hour's worth of stuff, and I did a pretty involved sound edit with music, and some of that music stayed in as temp all the way to the very end. And it informed the movie. I mean, that previs became the starting point for everyone. Not that we had stuck to it, because we didn't, sometimes there were a few things that turned out to be impossible. But at least with something like that, you have to have a plan. And so being involved with that plan, as editor, and you mentioned getting editors involved in script, because, 6 months after you finish shooting, any problem is now my problem. Everybody else is gone, and now it's an editorial problem. And so your editor, good chance, has done this before and is able to anticipate things. And it depends on the relationship between the director and the writer and the editor. But when that works well, often an editor can really help you find issues and find solutions to things. And, some things you can't save in post. Some things, sometimes I'm just finding the least bad way of getting through something. This scene sucks, but we have to keep it. So yeah, the whole previs process on that was great. The other thing I did on Life of Pi was there are a bunch of, it's a story where it's set in the present, but a person is relating stories from years earlier, and the transitions in and out of those are not cuts or dissolves. We did more complicated things than that, and it was my job to think up what those were going to be. So that involved a lot of experimenting, and I went to location, and one of the sets was built, and I shot a bunch of footage, and came up with all these things to propose to production for how to do these transitions. Now something like that's not, and then I was on set when we shot them and said, okay, we need a blue screen here, we need to kind of made sure everything would work. That's not always the editor's job. I have a long history with Ang Lee and invented a lot of stuff like that for The Hulk, which is a film we did about 15 years ago. So he just decided that was going to be my job. But